Welcome back to another in our series of People, Places, and Things of the Bible. Our topic today is the prophet Isaiah. We find in Isaiah chapter 1, verse 1, the vision of Isaiah, the son of Amoz, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. To understand Isaiah, his life, his mission, and his writings, one would do well to immerse themselves in that which surrounded the prophet at the time. I'm not talking about transporting back in time, but becoming familiar with the time, the culture, the geography, and the history that this most fascinating of prophets lived amongst. Because Isaiah was so specific in his prophecies, skeptics have doubted that he wrote the entire book. Rather, they assign his writings to others at later times. After all, to the mind that cannot comprehend the power of God, how could he have written about Cyrus more than 100 years before he lived, as we read in Isaiah 44:28 and 45:1? To those who close their minds to the all-knowing Jehovah God, how could Isaiah have known the future in such minute detail? But to the believer, there's no doubt that Isaiah said and did all that God commanded him to do. For it was Isaiah who said with all eagerness, "Here am I, send me," in Isaiah 6, verse 8. As we've noted, Isaiah lived during the reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah. It would do us well to visit those kings as is recorded for us, beginning in 2 Kings 15 and paralleled beginning in 2 Chronicles 26. If history is not your strength, don't worry. Even the seasoned Bible student can become confused trying to keep track of who was who in this period of Israel and Judah's history of the kings. Sometimes this is compounded by the fact that some kings are called by two different names, as is the case of Uzziah in 2 Chronicles 26:1, who is also known as Azariah in 2 Kings 14:21. Or Zedekiah, who is formerly known as Mattaniah, or Jeconiah, Jehoiachin, and Coniah, who are the same person that came later in Judah's history. Then we have two kings named Jehoram who ruled at the same time. Sometimes a chart helps, sometimes a timeline. Sometimes just a list you can look at helps simplify the information at a glance. We can use outlines and diagrams, but there is no substitute for reading the book that bears Isaiah's name. One might be interested to note an unusual division in the book of Isaiah. Centuries ago, our modern Bible was divided into chapters, roughly as we know them today. The book of Isaiah was divided into 66 chapters, the same number of chapters as the Protestant Bibles have. Further, the book of Isaiah can be divided into two sections. The first section of 39 chapters is equal to the 39 books of the Old Testament and is very distinct from the remaining 27 chapters of the book, which corresponds to the 27 books of the New Testament. Of course, Isaiah would not have realized this, nor is it likely that those who divided the book would have been conscious of this when they did their work. As you pore over page after page, you will likely marvel at the stunning clarity with which Isaiah describes the state of not only Judah, but also surrounding nations, who will soon feel the heavy hand of Jehovah upon them. In vision after vision, Isaiah records God's righteousness, His love, His justice, and His mercy. Yet one cannot help but take note that while God is merciful and patient, He has also set a day in which His judgments will take place. We will do well to remember this, even today. And Lord willing, let's meet here again tomorrow and look at more people, places, and things of the Bible.